razor thin. That appears to be the margin with this Cubs team. Here we go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's episode is presented by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order, only valid for September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Much of today's episode will be reflecting on what the 2025 goals really are for this Cubs team as we revisit the trade deadline last week. There's definitely been a change of tone and mood around this team just within the last week. What a week it was with the Cubs from Jed Hoyer's extension, Cubs Brewers, Rhino's death, the trade deadline. Definitely a tumultuous week for the team, for better or worse. And we do start with the Cubs taking 2 out of 3 from the Orioles, but just barely. Cubs won the series with a 1-0 win Friday, 4-3 loss Saturday, and 5-3 win Sunday. Cubs are 65-46 now. Justin Turner hit a walk-off 2-run homer to at least finish the week on a high note. On Saturday was the Cubs for a Cure game. My dad and I in attendance, very emotional day for us. And Rhino tribute on Friday. And Cubs for a Cure this year raised $1.5 million. Outstanding stuff by that organization. And Sam, where do you want to start? Because Matthew Boyd was outstanding again. Cubs blow it late. They win a really nice close one at what was the shortest game of the year, Friday. But what's becoming clear for me since the deadline within the last few days, and we'll revisit later in the show with really Jed Hoyer is known, the margin for error with this team is incredibly small. And what are your feelings right now coming out of this series win?
My feelings are that this is kind of the reverse Sunday that we're used to experiencing, which is kind of usually we play a good solid weekend of baseball, lose on Sunday, and it impacts the show because we record Sunday. Where this, right. I think there's going to be a little bit more positive vibes because Justin Turner just had a huge swing of the bat, but it was another 3-3 week, another malaise week. On the field, another week of 500 baseball that was emphasized by lack of major activity at the trade deadline that I think, we're going to talk about that. I even think that there's some, forget the actual transaction element of it, but just the emotional part of adding a player and just, this team needs a lift right now. This team needs a lift. They've been passed up by the Brewers, which, has been coming and it felt like this. I mean, it's been months now, and maybe Turner's homer today will do it, something like that. They need a lift. They need a jolt. But as far as the weekend goes, my takeaways, I hate to be redundant, but I'm going to be. I think my takeaway was Kyle Tucker and his – and I know he had a couple hits on Sunday. I'm not talking about average. Just something is up there, Matt. Something is up in terms of, he changes from the blue to the red gear. And then Sunday he has a man on second, nobody out to start the game. And he, on an air – and he just, a sack bunt. Maybe he was trying to bunt for a hit. There's something going on there. And to be fair to him, I get it. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of money at stake, a lot of things going on. But between him, Bush, Seiya, and Pete, we continue to say, well, hey, this team's got to outscore teams. And, I saw Lance Brozdowski after the deadline talk about, hey, the bet that this front office made is that they have the best offense in baseball. And they're just going to run through teams. Well, statistically they do, but those 4 dudes aren't producing right now in the second half of the year. I mean, PCA was until a tough back-to-back Saturday and Sunday. And I think Kyle Tucker's the leader of that group. And I have a hard time taking this team seriously as a division contender, let alone a World Series contender, if he's going to, be a 23, 24 home run guy and slug in the 400s.
Well, this week we should dig into the Kyle Tucker situation because I watched most of the game back on Saturday when I got home.
It's the best, isn't it?
And, well, yes and no, based on the result, but sure.
I just like to see, like, when you see it when you're there and how it looks on TV is what I mean.
I think, we're going to – I wanted to call you on Sunday before the game, but I don't exactly have the best – win-loss record when I do that.
Yep.
Pulling you off the air.
Yes, we don't.
But
do well
I
when
heard something on Saturday's broadcast. Boog basically revealed that something is wrong with Tucker.
Yep.
So I think I should grab that audio.
Yep.
And no matter what happens Monday against the Reds, we should lead with that because I think it could be bigger than we even realized. And the Cubs offense still ranks one of the best in baseball. I get it to your point and citing, what you heard on other from Lance or whoever is okay if we were, relitigating the first 60, 70 games. Their offense hasn't run through anybody for weeks and weeks.
Right.
That was the first 70 games. So that hope by the front office, if true, is a poor plan. Now,
and I have some strong feelings about that whole Tucker might be injured situation, but I'll save that for a different episode.
Yeah, I say we save it.
Okay.
But hoping is not a plan. Sure, could they get hot at the right time? Sure, but your thing, Sam, that again, you were the first one to talk about this. The Cubs just can't get going. They're 8-7 out of the break. They win, they lose. They win, they lose. The other teams around them, or at least one team that's closest to them, doesn't do that. They are winning in bunches. And when they have a close game like they did in D.C. on Sunday, then they score 15 unanswered. And when was the last time the Cubs did that? It's been months. I mean, I don't think I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
And the Orioles entered Sunday winners of 7 out of their last 10. But if you're up 3-0 with 6 outs to go on August 2nd, you have to win.
Yeah, I think – I don't want to go, they took 2 out of 3, and it's like, well, but they lost 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee. They won 2 out of 3 against the Sox. They lost 2 out of 3 to KC. It just feels like they right now are in a holding pattern. And I think this is a really good segue to talk about next is I really think the trade deadline was an opportunity to get them out of their holding pattern, to give this team new life, to reinvigorate some things as they go to a stretch run. That's why the deadline is when it is. You have, I heard JD talking about it today. At some point, it turns into a marathon, from a marathon to a sprint. And right now, it just feels like this team is still in marathon mode.
All right, coming up next, we revisit the deadline. It's been a few days since then, and really review, okay, where could this team go? What were the goals maybe in the first place or now? Because the tone and mood for me has definitely changed right after this. Today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It's time to fuel up and turn it up. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shots. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the golf course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. What's the weirdest course you've ever played? Did any of it have odd challenges that really threw off your game? Well, golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the Bev card. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order, and it cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost that you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today. All right, we revisit the trade deadline on Thursday. Cubs beat the Orioles 2 out of 3. Shout out to the everydayers. You could become a Locked On Cubs everydayer by joining us every single episode throughout the week. I think the main question for me, Sam, in terms of the tone and mood change is, number one, just the simple question in sports: did they do enough? But what I was wondering over the weekend, and even being there in person on Saturday, I wonder if the players believe the team did enough.
Mm-hmm.
And Castro's a great fit for the roster. Could play 6 spots. Kittredge is solid. Rogers is solid. Shoot, we watched both of those guys this weekend. They had great appearances. But for me, it comes back down to the starting pitching. How have your feelings progressed on this throughout the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a baseball sense, just an on-the-field sense, it seems like they're going to try and take a page out of the Dodgers book from last year, which is, and you even saw Counsell do it this weekend, outside of Boyd, pull starters early, go to the bullpen. And guess what?
Right.
Guess what? It didn't work on Sunday, right? Because the more guys you pitch, the more opportunity that somebody might not have it. And Daniel Palencia on Sunday didn't have it. And Caleb Thielbar on Saturday didn't have it. Now, that was, that wasn't Counsell's fault. I'm not saying it wasn't. But it just seems like what they've decided to do is, hey, we weren't able to get a lot of starters, so we got a ton of relievers we really like. And, in a playoff series, we'll go, if it's not Boyd and it's not Imanaga, maybe we go Horton 1 time through, 2 times through, and then matchups. Fine. I just don't understand. This is more an off-the-field take. I just don't understand. It just feels so contradictory to trading for Kyle Tucker. Now, granted, Kyle Tucker's in a massive slump. But we're not talking about statistically Kyle Tucker, just the idea of 1 year of a player like that. You go trade for him, and then at the deadline, that's when you decide to get timid and not make a move, and even get a guy like a Merrill Kelly or whoever it was, and maybe I'm overvaluing their mid system, and they either had to go all in with Casey and Ballesteros, which they didn't want to do for certain guys. I don't know. All I'm saying is with the way the season was going, it is going, momentum-wise, Brewers-wise, it felt like this team needed a lift. Heck, it felt like this fan base needed a lift. And Soroka, Castro, Kittredge, and Rogers, albeit in a vacuum, 4 helpful additions, it didn't feel like they got the lift that they needed. And you look back at where the Cubs have been, and I'm a big trends guy in baseball. You look at the last couple months, the Cubs and Brewers, it's not even close. And now you're basically just running that back. And I know the Brewers didn't do a whole lot, but they're the team you're chasing. And it just felt like the Padres. I felt like the Padres, they always go all in, but man, it really feels like if the Cubs were to play the Padres and Phillies in a 3-game series, one of those two, do you really feel confident right now at all?
Not currently.
Yeah. So I was just surprised by it. I do think Soroka will help them, but it just felt like this team needed a jolt. They needed a jolt, and now it's going to have to happen on the field. And what was the point of the offseason, right? We talked about, hey, all right, Tom is going to, we're going to see what happens, but if you're in a position to succeed, they're going to go all in. I mean, everybody, Cubs are all in, including us. Cubs are all in, all in. And then once Jed got extended, everything changed.
Yeah, I wonder if the controllable starting pitcher thing was a little bit of a fallacy, but then I would just take 5 seconds to attack my own point of, well, why didn't you do it in January then?
But also, why do you need a controllable one? Why couldn't you just find a way to get a rental? You have a controllable starting pitcher coming off surgery in Justin Steele next year. So you don't need a lot of that. You just need one to get through the season. The Cubs have not replaced him.
Well, that's where we didn't mention that on our trade deadline show. At least I don't think we did. Because Jed Hoyer hadn't had availability yet. So he said the market for controllable pitching was massive. That was an exact quote. Well, then at what point in the week or day or last 30 days, why didn't you pivot to Kelly, Hauser, or Morton, or Bieber? Those are kind of the 4 names I'm focused on, but probably more so Kelly and Bieber.
Gallen
didn't even get traded. So those are probably the 5 names. I get it, the controllable starting pitcher thing, but that was, I think we got lost in that. At least I feel like some of us did. It really should have been one of those more prime rentals then.
Right.
And for them not to adjust and do that was disappointing, because the controllable thing, it was Sam, the Twins. Here's the best way I can illustrate it.
Or get Suarez then, if you can't do that.
First of all, none of the controllable guys moved. The Twins had one of the biggest sell-offs in the sports history, and they kept Joe Ryan. So, okay, no controllable starter was moving. Mm-hmm. So then why not take the steps of doing the Suarez-Kelly combo or Suarez-Gallen? Well, why not, try to find a match for just Kelly, or could you package Morton with Kittredge? What was the market for Gallen like? Because they for some reason decided to keep him and decided maybe the qualifying offer and draft pick compensation would have been higher. That's the focus for me is, okay, they did get better last week, but in this wide open field that we'll continue to talk about throughout today and the many weeks ahead, because I believe the National League is wide open.
I do too.
So if starting pitching is what brings this team down, that is on Tom Ricketts, that's on Jed Hoyer, and that will likely be what takes them out. I don't care if relievers threw a higher percentage than starters in the last postseason. Doesn't matter. Starting pitching is the large weakness here, albeit the offensive is cooled off, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. And I have to read this quote from Jed Hoyer, Sam. I have to. This is March 26th, exclusively to The Athletic. It's worth all of our time. Quote, "The National League is really challenging. And when I look at our team, we have to play to our projections or better. That's always the concern. We have to have guys outperform expectations. There are only a couple of teams out there that I feel like can sort of potentially be a little bit below projections and still make the playoffs. The Dodgers can have some things go wrong. I feel like for us, we don't have a lot of margin for error. We need guys to improve. We need to stay healthy. We need to play clean baseball. We don't have the ability to sort of muddle through and just show up and make the postseason," close quote. And despite where they are now, Sam, and 51 games left, one of my big takeaways is just this last 5 days, they can't just show up and make the postseason. I don't care if they have a 7.5 game lead on the first team out in the Reds. They can't just show up and do it.
Well,
and that's a shame if that's their only goal, by the way, is just to make it. And then whatever happens, happens. Because that seems pretty clear.
But the thing that sticks out about that quote to me is they've outperformed expectations at almost every level besides the Steele injury. Let's say expectations. Let's just do a quick exercise. Let's say expectations is a 5 out of 10. So if a guy's having a 5 out of 10, that meets expectations. Anything below, okay. With Pete, you're getting a 10, right? Going into the year for what you thought you're getting a 10. Okay. Michael Busch, 9, maybe. Yeah. It was a 10 recently. Seiya, 7-8. Kelly, 10. Nico, 7-8. Boyd, 10. Palencia, 10. Keller, 10. I mean, who's significantly performing? I would go as far as to say Tucker now is right at about a 5-6 going into what his expectations are. Dansby's about a 5. This is what Dansby is.
Right.
You know, who's significantly performing? The only one that you got is the Steele injury. That's the only one that you got. Ray's been above expectations. What you've gotten from Horton has been beyond your wildest dreams. You know,
yeah,
so
that's a 10 for sure.
My point is you're getting what you were worried about. You're getting, and you still didn't then go and supplement this roster to a point to say, all right, like you're admitting it. We're getting a year that you didn't see coming. Nobody saw this coming from Pete at this level. Nobody saw Carson Kelly at this level. And now we're just going to kind of, all right, well, we like our team next year. We're going to build a team every year that can compete. And well, next year, what's going to happen? It'll be a lot like probably 2024, where maybe Pete reverts back to being a 750 OPS guy. And
ask the Orioles.
And ask the 2018, 19, 20 Cubs.
Right.
It's just it's never a guarantee. And so when you got it, you got to take advantage of it. And so it does. We're about to talk about the goals. It feels like what they want to do is run it out there, get to October, and hope the balls bounce their way.
We do that right after this.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in the game while your friends are getting sunburn at the beach. Folks, I hope you've taken some advice on these FanDuel reads. The Brewers, once upon a time back in May, plus 4 digits, plus 1,000, plus 1,500. Just make that happiness hedge. And when they do win the division, at least you're happy about it, right? Or at least you're not as bad because you put some money. Because right now, for the first time all year, the Brewers are minus 110 to win the NL Central. So are the Cubs, by the way, which I don't understand how that's quite possible. But hey, maybe they'll make a run. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bet if their first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started.
It sure seems like the Cubs' goal in 2025 is to make the playoffs, and whatever happens in the tournament happens. And they check this box of, okay, we made it. And don't get me wrong. They make the playoffs, we're going to be jacked up. We're gonna come out strong in terms of covering a playoff team for the first time since we've been on this show. But it does seem like that's what they're trying to do, and the reason why that is annoying is because the National League is wide open now. If the Dodgers are healthy, and by the way, that's based on the FanDuel odds and other metrics too. But why are teams, 2 through 6, between 8 and 13 to 1 or whatever it is? If you could double check my math, but the Dodgers are the favorite, sure. And when they're healthy, well, yes, they are the favorite, no doubt. But you have these 6 teams right now: Cubs, Brewers, Dodgers, Phillies, Mets, or Padres. Whether it's performance, whether it's health, whether it's age, all of these teams are flawed, which means a flawed team is going to make the World Series. Last year was sort of an anomaly now in baseball, Sam, where the 2 top teams made it. That doesn't happen really anymore. And I could see fairly comfortably one of those 6 teams out of the NL not only making it, because of their strengths, but because of their flaws as well. If you get what the picture I'm trying to paint, and that's something we could expound on throughout the year. But man, I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, the Cubs, look, it's one of those things where you want it all to go well. And if it goes well, you're going to celebrate. And there's a chance that it will go well. But their method and process just feels hopeful.
Yeah.
It just feels like they're hoping. They're hoping that this works out. They're hoping that Matthew Boyd can last this whole season. They're hoping. And to me, and Craig Counsell's even said this, by the way, not a direct quote, but to me, what managers, executives do is you play out the worst outcome in your head. So you have a plan for you have a plan for it. And right now it feels like what this Cubs team is doing is just saying, all right, we got a good team. Nobody's saying it's not a good team. It's a good baseball team. We got a good team, and we're gonna make sure that we get to the postseason, which they will, and see what happens. See. Okay, game 1, Boyd. Game 2, Shota. Game 3, some combination of Horton, Soroka, and a bunch of bullpen guys. They pitch well. We get the right matchup, and maybe you have a little Diamondbacks Rangers of 2023 to your point, or some 2020. I mean, how many times has Jed referenced the 2021 Braves? I mean, it's been at least 3 or 4 times. That was an 80-something win team that went on to win the World Series.
Well, it foreshadowed his deadline.
And we could sit here and talk about, I don't want to get into baseball as a whole, but the third wild card and the randomness of the playoffs, I think, has impacted executives. If we turn back the clock to the 50s and 60s, where it's just, hey, whoever's got the best record in the NL meets whoever's got the best record in the AL in the World Series, which is the best way to establish the best team. It's not good for business, but I would argue that that's best for baseball. Then you would have saw the Cubs be way more aggressive, right? They're in this contest with the Brewers. They have a legit chance to finish with the best record. But, okay, you got to win this series. You got to win this, and you got to look ahead. And it does seem to me like there's been this shift among executives of, I don't know how to phrase this. Yes, you want to win the World Series, but not far behind is just being good every year. You don't want to have down years. And so
there's many front offices on record, including the Cubs.
Yeah. Hey, winning the World Series.
He said that on Thursday.
Winning the World Series would be absolutely fantastic. But we really feel like there's a major luck play that plays into that. So what we can control is just making sure that we put a product out there every year that has a chance. And there's truth to that, but it also at the same time is a bit eye-rolling and frustrating.
Jed Hoyer said Thursday night, we want to be good every year. We don't want to have the big up and down cycles.
Right.
And I think I agree with that. And I subscribe to the theory, hey, maybe in this sport that we've chosen, that we love, it is more about the journey than the destination if you wanted to get deep.
Right.
But this year, I thought it was about the destination because of Kyle Tucker and other moves and signs that have occurred since that trade and into this season actually being played out in the field.
Right. But what's so interesting.
Why are we lowering the bar to now checking the wild card standings? That wasn't supposed to happen. What's
so interesting, though, is if you use the quote unquote golden age of the Cubs as an example, because Theo said this every year. The best way to win a World Series is be good every year, put yourself in a position, and one of the years it'll bounce your way. Well, the year it bounced the Cubs' way, they also had their best team by far. And it was the year that at the trade deadline, they went all in. They filled their biggest hole with the best guy on the market. So, in 2015, they had an awesome year. It was fun. They ran into a hotter, better team, but they weren't the best team in baseball that year. They didn't even win the division. In 2017, they sleptwalked basically through half the season, cranked it up at the end, and then just got beat by a significantly better Dodger team. 2018, they got beat by their own division, and 2020 is a separate case. Point is, that would really hold true to me if the 16 Cubs got beat, but the 17 Cubs was the team that won the World Series. In this example, the best Cubs team won the championship. And so I don't know. I get it, though. I get it from Jed's perspective, and maybe you're right. Maybe in the offseason we explore deeper things about, hey, what is – it's not football. It's not basketball. What is a successful baseball team? And how much do you go in there? Because – there wasn't a move out there. If the Cubs got Edward Cabrera, if the Cubs got Mackenzie Gore, even if the Cubs got Joe Ryan, I don't think that they are favorites to win the NL. You know what I mean? It just would have put them in a better spot. And as fans, I think it's frustrating that they're not in a better spot.
We'll be with you all week and all season long. We're here every weekday. Cubs Reds this week: Soroka, Lodolo, Imanaga, Little, and Horton Abbott's.
2 tough lefties.
The Reds are the 7th team right now in the National League. 7.5 games, though, behind the Cubs. Marlins also on the periphery there. I believe they're the 8th team now.
Wow.
So hopefully the Cubs can win 2 out of 3 against the Reds. Soroka, the new guy in there on Monday. The Reds also have Little after that trade with the Rays for them and their new guy on Tuesday. So should be a fun series. And we're excited to be with you every single day. Anything else?
Can't believe the Marlins are back to 500. Edward Cabrera threw another gem.
They are red hot. If you look up their records since, I believe, mid to late June, they haven't lost very much at all. This is Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. They do a great job over there every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB channel on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back after Cubs Reds on Monday. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
Go Cubs.